have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. You are infinitely spectacular. Welcome in. Wherever you are when you hit that play button, so glad you did. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna coming at you with another episode of the Genesis frequency. But then again, you knew that, didn't you? That's why you're here. And I appreciate you being here each and every week. Or if you're brand new, thank you for checking us out. We're all about personal, professional, leadership development, spiritual development, all of the above wrapped into one. And I generally just hit the record button and dive in and talk about whatever drops in for inspiration for me to continue to help uplift you and help move you, help you really make that quantum leap in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And I share things that I have applied in my life, that I've taken action on in my life, that I embodied working with the universal laws, the spiritual laws, the mental laws that we have all have available to us, to utilize them in the most effective and efficient way to improve our lives and to attract into our field of experience that which we want to have an experience of. The model's always the same: be, do, have. We have to be what it is we want to experience. It's all about adjusting the frequency. Thus, the name of the show, the Genesis frequency. That is the beginning of it all. The vibration we move into, matching that which we would love to experience. And these are things that I have studied throughout my life. I mean, really studied. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a metaphysical doctor. My PhD is in the laws of cause and effect and metaphysics. And I've studied a lot and I've applied a lot because, things weren't always really, really very good in my life. So, this stuff works. Apply it, live it, reach out to me. That's what it's all about, reaching out and have a conversation so I can help you maybe see some of the blind spots of where you or your company might be stuck. Yes, I do this for individuals, this work, and for corporations, small business owners, entrepreneurs, working out the mental game, working in cooperation with the laws that are available to all of us. We're working with them all the time because we have to, they're laws, but we're not aware of how they work so often. So often we're just wandering through life as unconscious competence. Yeah, we have a few wins here and there. We don't know how. We don't know why it showed up. We don't know. Sometimes we don't know why we get so far and then we go backwards. So let's have a conversation. Successappointment.com. That's it. That's my commercial. And that's it. I don't have guests on this show. I just encourage you to reach out, have a conversation with me. We work on personal goals and professional goals no matter what I do. I always encourage everyone to identify one that is calling you the most, and let's work on that professional goal and work on that personal goal at the same time. Doing more and more work around the weight release, working with peptides, working with the mental game that we encounter when we go down that road, because so many people, when I've spoken with them and they've looked through their personal goal, it's usually about their health and physical fitness and the excess weight they're carrying around. So that's a big thing. So I can help you with that. Haven't been on that journey a long time. I'm famous, a poster boy for the yo-yo diet, but most recently having tremendous success in sustaining that. So let's have a conversation around that. But let's dive into today's topic because You know what? It really is married to that, and I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but it really may be one of the most important principles of transformation and personal growth. And that's the principle of release. It really is. It's one of the most important principles of transformation. Personal growth, professional growth too, really release, letting go, making space. Because sometimes the reason new life is not fully appearing is not because we need more. It's because we need to release what no longer belongs. Maybe this is a new perspective for you. The reason new life is not fully appearing is not because we need more. It's because we need to release what no longer belongs. So let's look at the principle of space. We could also call this bandwidth. We can also call this what's in our atmosphere, right? But the principle of space. Nature teaches us this principle constantly. New growth requires space. Right? A tree sheds leaves, a garden must be cleared, a room must be emptied before it can be redesigned. If you've ever watched any of those transformation shows or those flipping real estate shows, flipping homes, or what is that one? I don't know. Give it or list it. A room must be emptied before it can be redesigned. And yet many people try to build new lives while holding on to old clutter, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, all of it. We say we want change. Everybody I talk to wants change, but we leave no room for it. That's where the problem comes in. Let's start with your physical clutter, because I think this is relatable when you can see it in your mind's eye, physical clutter and just stagnant energy, period. Physical on a physical level, because our environment, right, our atmosphere affects us more than we realize. Have you ever walked into a cluttered room and immediately felt mentally heavy? I mean, really heavy. Or you entered a clean, open space and felt lighter. Often you might have said, I love the energy in here. It just feels good. Environment matters. Your surroundings influence focus, clarity, productivity, your emotional state, your energy levels, your creativity. And one reason many people feel mentally overwhelmed is because they are physically surrounded by unfinished energy, closets full of things they never use, garages packed with forgotten intentions, drawers filled with randomness, stacks of paper they avoid, storage units filled with the past. And here's something interesting. Physical clutter often represents postponed decisions, things we haven't fully dealt with, things we keep saying, well, we'll get to that someday, right? Or someday on your calendar. Stagnant environments often create stagnant energy. And, we just went through this getting the office ready for Emerald Coast Longevity Clinic and the focus on weight transformation. We just cleared out its space and moved into our new office and started fresh. New things, new arrangement, a new atmosphere, new energy in that space. So let's talk about making the room for what you want to experience. It may sound simple, right? But this is powerful psychologically. For instance, if you say you want a new car, But your garage is filled with clutter because you're going to want to keep the new car in the garage, right? Not right. You want to keep it nice, fresh, clean. But your garage is all filled with clutter. You couldn't even park a, bicycle in there if you wanted to. What message are you unconsciously sending yourself? There's no room, no preparation, no expectancy. We talk a lot about the state of positive expectancy here on this show. No readiness. Transformation often begins with preparation for manifestation. Sometimes the act of cleaning, organizing, simplifying, and releasing is more than physical. It becomes symbolic. A declaration says, I am preparing for something new. I mean, this was what you're really saying. You're declaring that. I am preparing for something new through this, the symbolism that you're going through by cleaning, organizing, simplifying, releasing, all of that. I'm preparing for something new. And honestly, many people underestimate how emotionally freeing it feels to release physical excess. You really do. Try it out. Prove it. Prove it in your own life. It is emotionally freeing, like a breath of fresh air, to clear the closet, to organize the office, to remove what no longer serves. Because every release creates space for movement. What about with our physical bodies for a moment? Let's think about that. What does the body need released? Let's move deeper. The body itself. What might the body be asking us to release? Perhaps excess weight, inflammatory habits. What are the habits that cause inflammation? Everything points back to inflammation. Every illness, every disease points back to inflammation. Exhaustion. What do we need to release around exhaustion, chronic stress, or sleep patterns? Something needs to be released. What about emotional eating, overstimulation, neglect? What needs to be released? Now, this isn't about perfection, right? We move through life, we encounter life in a myriad of ways each and every day. This is about awareness because the body is always communicating, always signaling, always reflecting patterns of living. And many people today are carrying more than just physical weight. They're carrying fatigue. They're carrying burnout. They're carrying pressure. They're carrying stress accumulation. And over time, man, the body begins asking for relief, begging for relief, for support, for restoration. That's why with our new clinic and this focus on this niche, we're focusing on that part of it. The mental and emotional aspects of releasing and doing that metabolic reset. Let's talk about health. Health is not just appearance, right? And many people make that mistake. I think, oh, if I look better, everything else will fall into place. Well, one of the mistakes modern culture makes is reducing wellness to appearance alone. But true wellness is about energy, mobility, clarity, vitality, confidence, quality of life, ability to fully participate in your own life. And sometimes, I'm telling you, healing begins not by adding more, but by releasing what is draining you physically, releasing habits that no longer support vitality. You have to identify what those are first, right? And you have to release them. You have to work at this. Habits, releasing patterns that weaken energy, releasing what the body has been tolerating for too long. And what about mentally? We got to do this work mentally as well. We call it mental release. The mental dimension. We have to move into this mental dimension for a moment here in this show, because this is where many people remain trapped. They really do. The old thought patterns, the old assumptions, the old paradigms, the old programming, old limitations, worry, doubt, fear, scarcity thinking, lack, limitation. People often continue mentally rehearsing over and over again what could go wrong, what they lack, what failed before, why something may not work. And eventually those thoughts become familiar mental environments. They really do. But here's the truth. You cannot consistently create a new life while mentally living in old limitation. And at some point, the mind must be cleared. Not denied, not suppressed, but renewed. That's why we start off when, especially when we do the thinking into results with spiritual integration from the Dr. Gallagher Institute. That's why we focus in the beginning so much on our paradigm, so much of this. Clear it out, clear the mind, clear the habits, clear the habitual behavior, and work on that renewal and transformation. Because we really do, what we really have? We have that mental junk drawer, don't we? We have a mental junk drawer. I call it that mental junk drawers, I could say. Old conversations are in there, resentments, imaginary arguments, right? Regrets, self-criticism, negative assumptions, fear-based scenarios. And just like physical clutter, mental clutter consumes energy. It does. It weakens focus, weakens creativity, weakens optimism, weakens decision making. I would even go so far as to say that it weakens our awareness or our ability to move into that state of awareness where we're noticing what we're noticing so we can course correct. And eventually, people become mentally exhausted, not because life is impossible, but because the mind is overclouded. And let's talk a little bit about that word worry. Worry is especially important to release. I used to, and you know what? I still do say it. That worry is really praying for something we don't want to happen to happen. Worry is especially important to release because worry creates the illusion of preparation while actually producing emotional depletion. Think about that. You heard it here. Worry creates the illusion of preparation while actually producing emotional depletion. People think, if I worry enough, I'll somehow gain control. What? If I worry enough, I'll somehow gain control. But worry, I don't, that word is usually not even in my vocabulary. I want to get a point here, Cost, but I don't even like that word. Worry rarely creates clarity. It doesn't. I mean, consider every angle and options, do your due diligence, but worry rarely creates clarity. It usually creates what? Anxiety. And when we feed it fear, more of it, right? And anxious thinking often blocks creative thinking. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life come when the mind finally becomes quiet enough to receive new insight, new inspiration, to open it up to a new download. Look at it like the computer. Man, I remember back in the day when, man, 5 gigs was a lot, right? Get 8 RAM or something like that. I don't know a lot about all that stuff, but man, now we're 1 TB, 1 terabit, and 3 terabits the computers are coming with. But think about that. If your RAM is full of your memory is full on your computer, you can't stuff any more things in there, right? Something that's more effective, something that's more efficient. You look at old programs maybe that have been laying around. You're cleaning out that junk drawer. You probably got some CDs, programs on CDs or on a floppy disk, right? They don't even work anymore. You can't plug in something new that's going to be more efficient, more effective, and transform your experience unless you make room for it. Your breakthrough in your life will come when the mind finally becomes quiet enough to receive new insight. You have to receive the new download, the inspiration, the wisdom, the guidance. What about emotional release? Let's move even deeper here. I could keep going on and on with this. I know I got to wrap it up here in a minute. But moving deeper emotionally, think about it. Many people are carrying enormous amounts of unresolved energy. Wow. It's like carrying around bags and bags of garbage, right? We're carrying it around. Enormous amounts of unresolved energy, disappointment, anger, regret, bitterness, resentment, hurt. And while time is passing externally, it does pass, right? Emotion often remains internally active. I mean, it's there, it's moving about, it's taking up space. People carry yesterday's emotional garbage into today's opportunities. And eventually emotional accumulation really becomes heavy. It's that heaviness, and we're ceaselessly carrying it around. What is this weigh? I mean, emotional weight can become just as exhausting as physical weight. It really can. You can see somebody just dragging through their day, dragging through life because of the weight of the emotions they're carrying. Unresolved emotional energy affects sleep, it affects focus, it affects your health, it affects your relationships, your motivation, right? Your drive, your creativity, your confidence. And many people don't even realize how much energy they are spending emotionally carrying things that no longer need to be carried. Sometimes the most healing thing a person can say is, I no longer need to carry this. I'm done. I no longer need to carry this. Not because the past didn't happen. It did. Of course it did. But because carrying it indefinitely no longer serves life. Life is growing. Life is evolving. We are here listening to this show because we want to move into our greater and greater good and an experience of all that that is as we defined it. So what may come to mind for you, and often what I go to when I'm talking about this subject is surrender. And it's important to know that surrender is not giving up. I want to clarify that. This is very important. Releasing is not quitting. Surrender is not weakness. Letting go is not giving up on life. It's not about all of that. Sometimes surrender is actually wisdom. Come on, let's look at this from a different perspective. It is recognizing what no longer serves, what cannot be controlled, what has become unhealthy, what no longer aligns with our growth, with our vision, with our dreams, desires, aspirations. And this is what mature people do. Mature people eventually learn something powerful. Not everything must be forced. Some things must simply be released. Making the room, releasing the heaviness, releasing the weight. So we're talking about making space for something better. This is really where life becomes interesting because often the moment we release what no longer belongs, something new begins appearing, right? It's brought into that vacuum, new ideas, new relationships, new opportunities, new energy, new clarity, new momentum, because space has finally been created. And perhaps one of the greatest acts of self-respect is this: refusing to continue overcrowding your life with what no longer supports who you are coming. You got that? Refuse to continually overcrowding your life. That's what so many of us do. mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, with what no longer supports you or becoming. So let me give you a simple practice, simple challenge for this week, because I'm all about application and action. You got to apply this stuff. You got to take action on it in your life. So I want you to ask yourself, what needs to be released physically? Physically, what do I need to release? Only you can answer this. What needs to be released mentally? What needs to be released emotionally? Then begin gently. Just gently begin. One drawer, one thought pattern, one unhealthy habit, one resentment, one burden, one conversation, one step at a time. Because release creates movement, and movement creates transformation. That's what it's all about. That's what this show's all about, transformation. So perhaps, just perhaps, the life you want is not as far away as you think. Think about that. So many people I come to, man, it's just clutter. It really is. Is I get stuck. No, you're not. You're tripping over the junk. You're tripping over the garbage. You're tripping over what you no longer need to be carrying around. Clear it out. Clear the path. Clear the space. That's what's needed most now is simply space. Space for new energy, space for new thinking, space for healing, space for clarity, space for possibility. You don't have to hold on to everything. And sometimes the first step toward receiving more is finally the first step, finally become willing to let go. So let me leave you with this. Just a reflection piece here. Release is not loss. When what you are releasing no longer supports the life you are trying to build. So important. Just reflect on that, sit with that, and then do something about this. Release is not loss when what you are releasing no longer supports the life you are trying to build. That is the genesis of transformation. And that's going to do it. You have been listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast with me, Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna. Reach out, successappointment.com. Get you on my calendar. In your time zone, it'll open up. It's not a sales page. Just pick a time. Let's have a conversation. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the Genesis Frequency. Please comment, please like it, please share it. Share it with someone else that needs to hear this message and all the other ones I've been doing for the last 8 years. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Again, this is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. Bless you.